Yo. How is everyone? Let's try and see. Let's try and see if I did something bad. But no, I did not. Okay, hello everybody. How is everybody doing? We are doing a little bit of writing. I'm not there for forever. This will be a short stream, maybe 2 hours. And then I will be back later for a little bit more. But we are doing today's writing day. Like, we're doing only creative shit. We're not doing any gaming today. Maybe a round or two of Grand Blue later, but that is a maybe, not a guarantee. So yeah. Close that. That's not important. Good. Hello everybody. So what we're doing today is we're doing a little bit of more world building. World building in the sense that we need to do a little bit of expansion, especially in this one. We had the Athamaru, right? We wrote their basic lore last time. I want to put them in maybe rare or uncommon. I feel like what we should do is, like, how common are they in the city, right? And I see Leshy going up to like a metropolis, and I see a Strix there. I think humans are still rare. There's like maybe a few 100,000 humans or so. I feel like there's not many. There's like a few thousand came over, then like a few more, then they started repopulating a little bit, and now like 300 years later, I don't see like a giant jump in population. I think they are still struggling. I don't see them pulling like oh yeah, we're instantly like, just checking if my freshly open milk is good. Yeah. Like, it's like, I imagine them being very rare, and the Athamaru, you would rarely see an Athamaru, I think. Catfolks we got last time, and we said, okay, we keep them, and I feel like Catfolk are still either common or uncommon. I would put them in, at the moment, in uncommon territory, right? Kitsune will be rare. Lizard folk and Nagashi. Awakened animals are uncommon, definitely. But I should, like, the ones I have not touched, should not write them in. We wanted to do a little bit of rework on the Kitsune, because I don't like how they well, at the moment, are at all. I wrote them in a spur of a moment thing, and they didn't turn out very well. So, I'm thinking about how we do the Kitsune. I think we are rewriting the Kitsune in their entirety. We keep this. This. Let's put this way down. I keep this and then we do an entire rework. So, the alternative path, right, would be saying, I did a little bit of like talking to Ikasero, and we talked a little bit about like, oh, how do we want to ride the kitsune, right? Do we have a picture of the kitsune? No. Give me 1 second. Let's get just the sample bit of the kitsune in. That's a kitsune. If it would work. Apparently it saved it. I had one. But yeah, here's a kitsune. So, the suggestion I got was like a little bit of Shinto and Celtic Druidism. They protect places of worship. Yeah, I think so. I think that they should reflect the orcs is like still the best idea we have. This all is like the thing, for example, I made them like this like very Hindu thing that was like basically the thing before, and level to the point of obsession, dude. What did I write there? Obsession over rules and codes. I don't know if I want to keep this. I think this is a bit much. I feel like this feels like it becomes like, oh yeah, it's like your cliche paladin in a group. It's like, I have to follow my code. Everything is following my code. It's the codes thing, you know? It's a bit like, imagine, I imagine like 15 back in the day. He was like a very rule stickler. With like, oh, yeah, they will remain questing people. That's true. Because I mean, like the thing is I don't want to have like a species that is like entirely built out of like what you think a cliche automaton is. Like, oh, this goes against my code. But yeah, I could see this surviving to a bit, but not like 100%. I'll mark this as like, I will mark them like in colors just to see what we keep and what we don't. This is yellow. I like that. Promises and vows, and that I will color green because it's a better idea. Kinds of the natural order of things. They do disapprove of the hand, but they do see the Aether Flood as a natural and right. If they got places, if we go with the idea that they got places that were lost by the Aether Flood, do they see the Aether Flood as right? Is the question. Because I'd rather go with that idea. I'd rather go with them like being guardians of like places and like visiting these places and try to like get rid of the corruption, right? Reconsecrate those holy places. I think we do this in red. that is something I would rather do, where like Kitsune bear a grudge against the other people of Ezuko, because I think the better idea is we go a little bit different here, and we say they bear a grudge because the other because civilization caused the flood, but nobody bother. Basically, I want to make them like being like a little bit pissed that they need to like do their the dirty work of everyone else because nobody else bothers to. They're sitting there in their cities, right? Bothered to undo this. Exactly, that's the main thing. I would also put that one in. They are tiny, strongly against the elves and their endeavor to revive the rightfully lost. I wrote it in lowercase, even though I needed to do it in higher case because it's their own name. Do we keep Q? Is a species wide vow to prevent bringing those back who were lost in the flood? That is a good question. I feel like the problem is there's like we are facing at the moment the settings modern day a little bit, because there's like some species that are like we have loosely like written where we have written the past of them, and then we did never go into the modern day too hard, because except for hey this is like what people tend to do and what like some subcultures do, right? Because they're now all a mixed culture for the most part, right? There's like so many like the cities are just like a big hot pot of like cultures flowing together, and then there's like some we see that in the writing more and more, where like the isolationist factions still keep like largely to their original like ideas and cling on to them, with the Athamaru as well, where like since they are not like involved with everyone else the entire time, right? They're still like very much like, oh, we need to find our chosen one, our Dalai Lama, basically. While I think this would go for the Kitsune as well, that it's like a moral thing for them to like prevent the revival of these species. I think they're like a little bit what we had with like the which this is a little bit like hinting towards, that they're like a little bit karmic, where they're like, oh yeah, they did it and that is the consequence of their actions and they should not get a second chance. Like very absolutist, right? Whereas like, oh yeah, this is you basically did this and that is your fault and this is the final consequence of this. I think this is like we keep this. So yeah, exactly. I should use face culture up here as a buzzword. Well, this did not work how I intended. And then we have like stuff like it is a species white vow to prevent their revival. Do we keep them as like buddies with the giants? At least like that the giants are not like kill on sight with them. Because the giants we wrote, just to remember, I will open the second tab. Oh, we can just refer it, right? Page. Ah, fuck. No, that was wrong. And goodbye. Link is what I wanted. Link to page, and then we want the giants. The thing about the giants is we said we at the moment only friends are the Kolos. We can add the Kitsune in here. We could do this. Hello, Solar Dragon. I mean, we could do this. Let's keep it first at like giants do not mind Kitsune and are rather fond of them. Giants are also big on safeguarding places of natural magic. There's some overlap in interest. I think if we keep the oh Jesus, what did you do? What is Moon TPL? Oh, okay. Sorry that Nightbot caught you there. Also give fish arms, and that's just a normal part of the world. Fish, actually, fish do have. There's like fish with arms. Like there is. We have Athamaru. We have fishmen. The thing is, if we keep the I'm happy for the Kitsune to be chill with the giants, so we keep that. I don't know if they're like a kobold, what a kobold is to a dragon, basically. I'm not 100% sold on that idea, because if we do this, we basically put down all of the we have like where is it? We have the ancestry of the giant kin, not the giant kin, the elemental kin, right? We have that like basically as a child species to the giants. So this is why I'm like a little bit careful. But yeah, the Kitsune, let's go back to them. So we have them at the moment. Kitsune do not like to interfere with the cycle of life excessively. They tend to be vegetarians, vegans, growing their own crops and foods unintrusively. I think we kick that one out, right? That could be that would be a good thing. We can do this. Let's do this. 1 second, we keep this, but we rework this as well, so we are doing this. Even though giants like them, they try to work around the giants. I think that's wise, because a Kitsune, like, imagine you have like this like maybe 1 meter something fox guy running around, and then they wake a kaiju on accident. That would be bad, because our giants are kaijus. Like, that is what our giants are at the moment. Kitsune do not like to interfere in the cycle of life excessively. I think we kicked that one out, right? The last riding session was not good. This goes the way of the dodo. They tend to use violence when it's needed to save and protect or punish. I like them as like harsh. We need to rewrite this. I like them that they're like very harsh, but I don't like them as like, it sounds like, yeah, they're doing what everyone else is doing. This is like very weakly worded. This is also not good. Yeah, you can actually do that. You can use it with Earth and Sky. It's actually possible to like send someone into the sky, which is like kind of crazy. I think mages as a class in general is like such a fun class, because you can do so much with the spell strikes. It's just so funny to cast Fist and just do some stuff. Though, me as a permanent GM, basically, I have to say, like, low-level mages is like so annoying to balance around, because their damage output is so absurdly high if they hit that spell strike. Then again, you have like, of course, reactive strike enemies, but those are like, what, I think 30% of all enemies have reactive strike, so yeah. Which is still sometimes nice. As a GM, I chuckle sometimes when it's happening, and then it's like, oh no. Their society is a small thanks to strict ruling, causing villages to have low resources. I don't think we keep this as well. Yeah, yes, I had a session yesterday. We talked a lot about like for us it's like before session we just like talk and vibe, then like we do the session. After the session, usually like some of the guys stay like for an hour longer, and we just talk about stuff. And we talked about the mages, and we talked about the summoner, because the summoner also gets 2 spell slots every level, as far as I know, right? So it will be interesting how they progress, because the thing that was like so crazy about mages and summoner was they both had like this this okay kit. They were like I'm not saying mages was bad or anything. Mages was really solid, but like mages was of course like paper mache, right? He's a red mage basically. And as cool as Mages is one of my favorite classes. The thing is, it got really, really good once you had free archetype, and once you had like, if you did free archetype with no restrictions, because then you could like get access to psychic or like to anything else that had more spell slots, gave you more spell slots basically, or like more focus spells. And then all of a sudden you had like a higher repertoire of stuff, and your class got infinitely better. Yeah, it was gambling the class. And it made it so much better now. It makes it so much better that it has now an inbuilt better progression. So it has like actual like so it's not forced to on dead levels to go into archetypes to like get the most potential out of the class. To like sit there and just take focus spells, like from Psychic, for example, which is why Psychic Mages was so good, because it just gave you basically, instead of like your Fugue spellcast, it gave you basically double the spells every time, and you had like a very solid repertoire of stuff, and it was really good. That being said, I also think the summoner getting a very, very big buff is very much needed. And I hope that Meld into Eidolon will be so much better now, because the summoner was, as cool as I like the summoner, the summoner is literally a JoJo character, right? You have your stand, you're just running around, you have spells, good, but it's basically it's very cool. I love the summoner. I love both of the Secret of Magic characters, even though I'm not a big spellcaster fan, but both of them are really cool, and then they get like a little bit of a buff. I just hope that Meld into Eidolon just gets the buff it needs, just to be like, yeah, it's super useful. Because what happened before was with Arcane Cascade, you would pick the feat that gave you the one action spellcast that does like the 1d4 damage and gets you back your spell strike. You're doing like shit like this, and basically you get rid of a lot of like the feat tags on the mages, which is like very, very much needed. The mages is like very static because of this. He had like more choice because of like the spells he could pick, but that you get into the Arcane Cascade without a spell is nice. It's just nice to have. Anyways. Let's get a little bit back to this. Said Witch Noise. The Witch suffers from like being an underperformer and then like being the first one they remade in the remaster. That's like I think that's why the Witch suffers at the moment a little bit again. The Witch was like, when I tested my Sparkling Touch Mages, I found out that I would have to cast Shield instead of doing something else. Yeah. I think I've never had a campaign since switching from 5e to Pathfinder 2nd Edition 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago, or was it 4 years ago? Nearly 3.5 years ago, I think. That I had never had a campaign that did not have a mages. Like, once it was out, every campaign had one, because it's like such a fun class to experiment with. And everyone said basically the same. It's like with a gunslinger, right? I don't want to go too much into game talk. We get to writing in just 2 minutes. It's like with a gunslinger. The gunslinger is like a very cool class if you play it differently than shoot, reload, shoot, or shoot, walk, reload, shoot, right? Yeah. Exactly, that's the main reason why we switched as well. I started DMing in 2018 and had, at the time, first 1 session, then 2 sessions, and at one time 3 sessions that I ran simultaneously as a DM. Basically like 3 campaigns. And we finished all of them at during 2020. Yeah, I lived 4 years in my apartment, and once I moved, we basically finished every campaign one after the other. And when we were like for like the last 4 years, basically, we played Pathfinder 2E, and I've never looked back at 5e again, because I just love the customization. I love the balance. I like that monsters have to actually think instead of move, do crazy thing, and then that's your turn, and then next turn you hit because you have a cooldown turn, and then the next turn you do move, crazy thing, and that is that. I think Pathfinder does it a bit better because the monsters still have like feints, grabs, stuff like that, and so it's like it just feels better for like combat flow, even though I suck at like monster combat, to be honest. Like once I play a player character, I did that as well for a while. When I play a player character, I have all the actions memorized. But once I play monsters, especially if I play many, I just like get a little bit overwhelmed with the stat blocks sometimes. It depends like on how good prep time for the session, to be honest. But yeah, what I wanted to say was with a gunslinger. The gunslinger is a very cool class. I think once you see that you can basically aid anyone with like your 1 feet. What's it called? Fake out. With fake out, and you just chill there and just give like one attacker a +2 basically at some point, because you just do a normal 8 check, right? At least rules as intended is you do a normal 8 check against with the attack roll. So at some point you just crit only. So basically you give like people pluses to the attack for your reaction, and so you want to have your gun loaded at the end of your turn, which allows you to like break out of the out of your turn rotation, which is like, oh, I shoot, I reload, I shoot, and then the next turn I reload, I shoot, I reload, right? You want to like do a little bit of like other stuff in between. You want to hide and stuff like that. In theory, if you play anything except for the melee gunslinger who's like running in and like splashes attacks on the enemy with like stabbage blast and stuff like that. But like the gunslinger stuff is like the very same. Once you break out of the mold and once you open it up a little bit, it's like such an interesting class, but it gets relegated to, yo, I'm the ranged fighter. And that is like very, very sad to see, because I see so many cool gunslinger builds that nobody plays because they want to crit fish. And well, they want to like do 2 attacks ideally and want to like get crits out of that. And but yeah, it's like, but then again, Gunslinger suffers from like the long range rifles never seeing used because ranges are way too big in Pathfinder. Like a long range rifle, like Arquebus, can shoot like what 200 feet or something like that. You never do ranged combat at that distance. You can do theater of mind things there, right? That is something I want to see as well. I heard about investigator gunslingers and I heard they are very, very good. Yeah, or 150. You're never doing like combat at these ranges, right? You could do it when you have like an open field combat, right? That is also very true, yes. I mean, you could do like if you're like very, very proficient in spatial thinking, right? You could do like a thing. Oh yeah, this guy's sitting outside the combat area and doing cover fire. Right. The suck gun is or Sukgung is 200. But like what I wanted to say, you could do like this combat where like one is sitting like at a safe distance, right? And you have like these like sniper duels as well. The thing is, you need to have like very good spatial thinking, especially if you play on a grid, because you would like have to say, oh yeah, there's like 150 feet between you, which is, all in all, yes, for 150 feet is a lot, right? But all in all, you could like especially it's not that far if you think about it, right? Like a good shot, like that's not a problem for them if they position right. But like it gets to like this, oh, our sniper's always safe while the rest is like in the middle of combat. And he's just like playing for himself, which is kind of boring, like gameplay wise, right? So yeah, this is like why I say they don't use the ranges very well. And like others, like for example, if you have like systems where it's like tabletop, I say for example something like Warhammer 40k, right? Like miniature war games, they do with ranges better because everything is like Cyberpunk Decker problem. Yeah, it's like you have like everything is scaled down, so you have like the larger ranges are smaller, which is why, for example, some games that do have squares just count in squares and just say weapons have X squares range. It just is better than like saying, oh, this is this range and 1 square is this, like by the definition, right? Saying a weapon has like 5 inches range and 5 inches is like an imaginary number is like easier than oh yeah, it's like this definitive range. But then again, a war game is like very concise and a tabletop role-playing game is very literal. That's like the very, very big difference there. You could not play a war game like well, even though they stem from one another, right? Yeah, that might be a problem, right? So yeah, it's like I think that's like something you do in a session 0. Like if someone says, "Oh, I want to play this build of this like basically sniper support shooter," because you can like take the sniper duo stuff and shit like this, right? Where you have actually like long ranged aim assist. If you want to do that, I think that's a thing your GM should talk about with his players and say, okay, I balance this way, but the same goes for the enemies as well. There will be enemy snipers. Like, I'm not like I did one sniper encounter in my career, quote unquote, in my 8 years now, where like one encounter was, yo, they are in a forest. And there's a sniper shooting from ranged with, well, it was 5E, and it was a warlock using like the long-ranged Eldritch Blast, just shooting from ranged, and like try to keep them off like a certain area. And that was a fun encounter because they needed to think about like, oh, how do I get from A to B without getting seen or shot at, right? Because he would just like hold his action, cast an Eldritch Blast once he sees them, but then like they would like find out new ideas how to move between like covers, and I like that idea as a puzzle. But having this as like as a permanent threat, well, I don't know. But anyways, let's go back to writing. We are stuck here on we should like do at some point, just like as to be fair to the gunslinger range. Don't forget how crippling the penalties for ranged increments are if you think back to enemies with short bows or throw weapons. Yes, that is also true. That is also very, very true. I think also I think we should just do like at some point just do like a little bit of like talking. Yeah, that is also very, very true. The problem is like once you're in a dungeon, you feel just shit, right? You're like if you like have a dungeon heavy campaign, you just feel like very, very bad because most rooms are not that long. But yeah, it's okay. I think we should just do like a little bit of like theory crafting, or like just doing fun builds, or like build idea stream. I think that would be fun. I think that would be actually fun, just talking about stuff. Because Pathfinder 2 is such a fun system to talk about. Anyways. We get back to the Kitsune, right? We need to write the Kitsune better. They get out of conflicts to the point of negligence. I don't like this. Just because I think this would pull the theme, yes, pull them out of world history. Thank you for following. Very, very nice of you. Out of the entire world conflict. I don't like if the Kitsune are just like sitting there just watching everything. I think what this setting up to this point has very good is like very good intertwining. Like everyone has like something to do with everyone. I like that very much. So this is like very counterintuitive to the setting. Orcish empires. This is something, however, I want to mark yellow. I want to rewrite this. Heritage War. They were defending the places they settled at, fought orcs and refugees alike. Did not intervene in the conflicts directly. They tried to keep the peace, prioritized keeping the balance of the world in check. Oof. There's like a lot of stuff I I think what I want is they keep this. How do ranks work in the settings? Are they changed almost these things? They are changed. We go into I can go into Dragons very soon. We have like done this I think 2 streams ago, and we rewrote them a little bit. When they immediately seize the opportunity, the heritage war present and start nicking shit and land. Yeah, exactly. It's like hi, welcome to the lurk. So they started taking places that were taking over places and weak positions that were taking due to the heritage. Let's do this. So what the dragons are, we're doing this part of the Kitsune quickly before we go into like this will bring them into the position with a young orcish emperor, right? Yes, I was thinking the same, that the young orcish emperor who's like, oh, let's go back to nature, is like very like trying to rebuild orcish civilization, is in opposition to them, right? To the reformed orcs. Then the Aether Flood happens. So apocalypse happens. Well, basically apocalypse, cataclysmic event. The planet is flooded with Aether. But he walked around in like forever, right? The Emperor lived for a long time after he abandoned his like post, right? Orc dynasties. You mean Korok, right? You mean Korok the 7th? Because Korok, where is the last time we talk about Korok? Korok dictated his titles, retreated into the lands because he became a teacher, right? Shunning his family. In the interims, orgs. Do we have a Korok again? And then we go to Korok. Korok, having grown empathetic towards his kin. Not to repeat the mistakes brought again by the Imperial Orcish Short Dynasty, the followers of Korok's teachings. So in the meantime, we can let Korok die, right? I think Korok was young when the Heritage War was over, right? Just give me 1 second. We do Eziko, we go Law. And we go into the timeline quickly. We had him as a child emperor. Don't know if you ever wrote that down though. We just said young emperor. So 290 years, humans appear on Eziko. Then like stuff happens, right? The Heritage War ends. Then we have 10 years, and that's where Korok splits off from his like dynasty, because Korok goes away after the dynasty enslaves the humans. And then we have 190 years where nothing happens, where like nothing of like world import happens, except for like that like they fuck around with Aether, and the Project Aether is started by the goblins and the gnomes. So we have like no definitive day where Korok dies, so we can't have the Kitsune just assassinate Korok. Is it what we want though, species? Let's go to quickly, because we want to quickly talk about the dragons, how they work in this setting, because they're very a bit different. Just so like everyone is up to speed. In the meantime, I'm thinking about like if the Kitsune murdered Korok. So we made dragons like prehistoric, and that they're like basically master of their like schools they have, and that due to Aether, which is like basically like the magic in the setting, and has like physical forms on the planet of Eziko, which we are like we're building on. Basically, it made them sterile over the years, and that the dragons basically learned how to. We did a little bit of like a thing where like dragons, when they die, they basically take over the body of the person who killed them. Basically, you turn into a dragon after a while. After when you become a dragon slayer, you take over, get taken over by the dragon, and basically they cannot die out in theory, except if another dragon kills a dragon. If a dragon kills a dragon, it makes them stronger. They just basically take in the other dragon's soul and become a little bit stronger. A bit like Dovahkiin, if you think about it. But yeah, then there's like basically due to their pure magic nature, there's like Aether radiation, because Aether, as the essence of the gods and magic, basically lives in the planet's core and seeps out into the material plane as like fluid, and this fluid radiates pure magic, so it's like dangerous to be near it for a prolonged time, and this makes dragons insane, so they try to not tend to go near anything that radiates Aether, because they know, okay, we go insane. So you have like the feral dragons, right, in your setting. So you have like dragons who are like actually evil without trying to like become immortal. And yeah, they thought they could a little bit like the Emperor of Mankind, that if they kill each other and take each other's essence, they can become so powerful. They could kill the so-called changeling, which is an eldritch being living in the planet's core, basically, and living off ether. That they could kill it. And yeah, when a dragon realizes they are going insane due to radiation, they decide to do like a lot of like plotting to make it look, oh yeah, I need with like the end goal of them dying. So they do like a little bit of planning, and then they die to take over someone else new, prepare everything for the next 100 years or so until the other individual dies, and they become the dragon. But yeah, and then they last but not least, they see they see death as like a setback, not as like finality. They're like, damn, I'm dying again, but in a few years I will take over, well, in a few decades I will take over this guy's body and become a dragon again, right? But yeah, and this connects to the dwarves, who were building automatons, and saw that using basically like the essence of something and fusing it with something else can produce new and more powerful life. This is like the entire idea what the dragons are basically. So they're like still giant draconic beings, but they have like a little bit more like of a occult baseline, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, they revive each other constantly and stuff like that. Where were we? Kitsune. Now I thought about this. And I think they succeeded in murdering him, which is why orcs and the Kitsune do not get along, right? Hey, how are you doing? Then the Aether Flood happens, right? Aether Flood. When they learn about the projects in the Mirror, the Kitsune strongly condemn the actions of the rightfully lost. The rightfully lost being the goblins, the gnomes, and the halflings, because they did cause the Aether Flood, and like actually like species go extinct. They did not intervene, however, when the Aether Flood happened. Those who were swept away and died accepted their lot, while those who lived at high elevation counted themselves as blessed. They saw the Aether Flood as a natural progression to azeroth interference with the planet. I think most of that is fine, right? Like, most of that, even with the line we have right now, I think most of that can be greenlit. I think the only thing... Nice. Dude, writing is just so much fun. Like, thinking and like, especially world building is just so much fun, right? You just sit there and just think about stuff and how it would make sense in an imaginary world that has like a few base like pointers. So yeah, I get that. Writing is fun. So, let's do the following. This is just like, we keep this in yellow because I don't think that they, I don't think in a society where you have like basically face culture, you just don't accept your lot, right? You're like, no, you need to do like a little bit of like differently. So we need to rewrite this. And then we have the War of Unity. The War of Unity is the event where like everyone came together after the Aether Flood, where nearly everyone was extinct, and they like went to like mountain villages and populated them again, like, which became later the metropolises that people live in the skies in. And then the flesh mobs come out of the crust of the earth under the leadership of the Changeling, and tries to wipe them out. So that's where like everyone who's civilized grows a backbone and sees past their their conflicts, and they even like forgive the orcs for like, at least not like entirely, but like they involve the orcs in the taking down of their enemy after like hundreds, well, 1,000 years of like orc subjugation. So and we have like the Changeling is deemed a natural cancer that tries to put the natural order out of balance. So for the first time in Ezekiel history, the Kitsune intervene and try to have the members of the Unity. This goes red. And this goes yellow, because we need to fit this a little bit to like how we wrote them. Right, and just do a little bit of adjusting so it goes into the green thing. Because like, again, this we wrote last writing stream, and I was very, very tired at that point, and we had like 40 degrees Celsius. It's like, I did not write peak here. Dark Age. This stays green. This is good. They go back to their roots. I think Kitsune are planet dwellers. I think they're surface dwellers instead of like going to the metropolises. This goes into yellow. And this goes into green, right? And that's the old stuff. They only visit the flying cities if rumors of unholy artifact reaches their homes on the surface. Yeah. I think that I like that better. Only visit Metropolis if rumors of sacred artifacts reaches their homes on the surface. Okay, and now we need to kill this. We're doing like a little bit of like again the rewrite here. So this is fine. This is good. It's start from here. This can go out. I don't want them to obsess over rules. I think I went long enough on like a tangent here where it's like, ah, grr. It feels too much like lawful idiotic, right? It's like lawful stupid. If it's like, no, you need to follow the rules What? Oh. Well, let's put the fox below this. Fox, get this guy off me. This can go because we have a replacement already. And we write this as like a nicer sentence. They have a friendly relationship with Eziko's giants. However, they tend to be very respectful and try to avoid giant contact whenever possible. I think they just like vibe with the giants, as you said already, right? And I need to mark this a little bit better, where we do like boop, add a link on this, and we say giants. And then we go further. We have like Kitsune do not like the interfere that no, this goes out. Boom. We need to rewrite this. Even though they see themselves as protectors of holy places, holy places, yes. Places and mystic, mystic shit. Artifacts, they do not stray from violence when they see a potential danger to himself. Divine places. Yeah, I think them being like true neutral would be like the wisest way to go, right? Is the playlist over? I think I asked that every time we are on the playlist and this song plays. Yes, it's not over. They are not the holy unholy divide, only for the presence of the gods. Yeah. Then we can put out the violence because this is like basically what I wrote there is like, yo, they use violence when it's necessary. Thank you, Renee. It's like, yo, did you know that people get violent when they need to use violence when there's no other option? I think the only part I want to keep of this is like they have small societies. I'll get to that in just a second. Kids in societies are smaller than the average. Smaller than average. Thanks to their locally bound duties, much like nobles civilizations. They do marry off offspring for societal standing and reach. What I want to say basically is like they're like, oh yeah, we're like a folk that like keeps very, very like close to these places. So of course the genetic pool is not the biggest, right? So they just say, oh yeah, there's like a place where you need to wander to, like 30 kilometers to the south. And there is like a son you have, and that guy, I heard he has nice fur. You want to go there? Right? And then they just goad like their offspring into like marrying, usually. And like only the ones who are like wandering just meet someone by accident and just found a family there. I think that is like also kind of natural, at least for them. Maybe you have like some improvements there, but I think it just makes sense to them, especially if you have a face society, right? You're just like marrying offspring to the best family, and not to like, oh, this guy, I don't know, he has a nice snout, or like big beautiful anime eyes, you know. They're not outwardly aggressive, but and prefer. I copy and paste that if that's okay with you. I just put it in. I think arranged marriages are the norm, right? Except for like the wandering ones. Like if you're like a wandering guy who's like going from like basically, I see that there's like a few of them in each generation who are just wandering priests basically, or wandering like scribes who like just take inventory of like, oh yeah, there's a holy place, there's a holy place, there's kitsune, there's orcs, right? Just to like documents everything, right? And those guys just are not arranged at all. They are just like they are just like free. Basically the chaotic kitsune, quote unquote, as chaotic. Well, instead of like being like lawful, they're neutral, right? Yeah, I think that is like a very, very good point, that they use it like rarely as a first means to an end. So kitsune societies are smaller than average thanks to their locally bound duties. Much like nobles of other civilizations, they do marry off offspring for societal standing and reach. Arranged marriages are the norm for those who stay at one place. Those who are traveling between divine places to scribe and learn find love more naturally. I think that's like the most like sensible thing that they would do for like repopulation. Kitsune will use violence to punish transgressions and rarely as a first means to an end. That's good. Now we go into the Orcish empires, right? And you see the text gets longer and longer and longer. At the end, we do the same thing with the orcs, where it's a flowing text, because this setting, I said it before, I will make this like available. So if anyone is at some point interested, when we're done with this, yeah. But this will take a long time. Like we're still like in starting things. We just need to like shortcut a few other things on the way, because I need to have it ready to play for my campaign starting next year. Somewhere around this, like we have like 1 year worth of time where we need to like get this figured out. And it sounds much, but it's like basically if we do the only every Monday stream, we would do this. We're like 150 hours to write this, and it sounds much, but it is not. If you think that we like sometimes write 3 hours on like one species, and we have like talked none about modern society, modern like players, like anything. We just went into like the background of everyone. But I do like some work on the side as well. Like I'm not only doing it on streams, but yeah. Orcish empires kept out of the conflict and accepted that the orcs were dominating the elves. I don't like this. They kept the orcs out of the villages and killed orc refugees alike for tampering with natural sites. Before the Heritage War. Some kitsune were captured by orcs. I think, like, especially the traveling ones would be like easy pickings for the orcs. Why would the orcs not try to like get them for one reason or another? Captured by the orcs. While those That's good. That's good. Let's try it. Let's try start with this. At first, the kitsune respected the Orcish tradition of Druidism, but as the I don't know why I just did not copy and paste this. Boer people's society kept developing and changing. They grew disillusioned with them. So, and then we go into like yeah, I like that they become more secretive. Thus, they began to fortify, hide their own holdings from prying eyes. And now we do something. I have an idea for this. So, over time, traveling, kitsune would be captured by orcs. Due to them I can put this in between in just a second. Making the role of emissary, scribe, or wandering storyteller a punishment rather than key to freedom. Yes, but I want to have this like thing because I feel like, especially the young kids, right? I feel like it's a little bit like your cliche shonen anime where your protagonist lives in the village and it's like, oh, I want to see the world, I want to go on an adventure, and then shit starts going down. And I think for them, like being a scribe or an emissary or anything to get out of the confines of their society is a very big boon to them. And then it's like yeah, and then like they get kicked out instead, and all of a sudden this like mindset of like, oh fuck, like our youths, like basically the same with like how like I don't want to get into real life politics, but like it's kind of similar to like how like many like military services and stuff like that work, right? But like back in the day, it was like, oh cool, I can join there, I can get like a lot of stuff, a lot of benefits from this. But nowadays it's like, oh no, please no. It's like very similar to that in that regard, where it's like, yeah, they wanted to see the world, and all of a sudden all of their youths do not want to do that anymore because there's like rampaging orcs everywhere, and now it became a punishment, right, for those who like actually like do not integrate in society, or like and they get like kicked out as like a punishment. Those who integrate did not integrate properly were sent out into the world for a while to reflect on their actions. So basically it's like punishment. You go out into the lands where like this entire world spanning network of slavers live. And then we put this in between where you said with like the orcs and the kitsune, that the kitsune appeared to the orcs as like mystics and monks, right? But I would say appeared to others. To be traveling people of mystics, oops, and monks who rarely stayed in one place. Okay, and then we have like this. I think that there's like scouts and stuff like that. I think that's a given, right? It's like just the people who needed to go out and live outside of society were doing this, right? But we can do this. Thus they began to fortify and hide their own holdings from prying eyes, while still while scouting and gathering information of the happenings outside their societies for protection. And then we have like this as well. And then we go into Heritage War. Oh, Heritage War, my favorite topic. Actually, I think my always I don't know why, but like getting to the how about stealing a page out of the Dragon Age's book. What do you mean? I would be. What exactly do we want? What do we see out of Dragon Age's book? I'm always happy to take like one of my favorite fantasy, well, one of my top fantasy settings, at least for gaming. And then like the dwarves in that game and draw a distinction between village kitsune and those born outside of the villages. Ooh, that's an interesting point. That's very interesting, actually, thinking about it. Because to them they are like just randos, right? Let's put that down here because that is like a topic that would reform everything. Question. Do they make a distinction between insiders and outsiders of their villages? That's a very good question. What I wanted to say, and that's like the image of the leaders kicking out families, expecting children for minor transgressions, to keep the village safe and establish a branch family to serve as eyes. So you mean like they want to kick out the families that are expecting children, and they birth the child outside of the society, and then they just have like these branches of families that keep contact with the village, but the scout is like working outside of the village. Is that what I gather from this? So basically you have like over like two levels of like so say yeah, so how I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, you want to have like I just use names. You have Steve the Kitsune from Village A, and Steve Kitsune from Village A has like it's like tier 1, right? He decides shit. And then you have like Bob Kitsune, whose wife is expecting. So Steve kicks out Bob, so Steve and Bob live like Bob and his wife live outside, and they birth Kevin the Kitsune. And Kevin the Kitsune is basically an outside scout, while Bob and his wife keep contact. Yes, where do the families live then? Just outside, somewhere isolated, or how do I understand it? Where's the second tier live? Tier one makes sense. Tier 3 makes also sense. Like both tiers make sense. The poor schlubs live outside and the villagers live outside. Where do the families live? Do they live in the villages? Because then how did the poor schlubs get out and who nurtured them? And then you have like the third one, if they live outside, and say poor schlub, the poor schlub who's like living outside as a scout lives there and is in contact with the Kitsune. That is something that is good that we talk about it. Do they have decoy villages? Are decoy villages above traveling mystics? Exactly. That's what I that okay, that I can jive with. Okay. Because now we have is this a system that was this is developed during like the Orcish uprising, right? Where like the Orcish are the most powerful. So we do this. They would create decoy villages to hide the actual holy place from the orcs. The decoy village was inhabited by those. Exactly. Who were expected to birth children to serve the role of scout. These villages were mostly filled with the women, with the mothers of these scouts and their would-be families. Because this goes on for generations. So basically the first generations is just the mothers, right? You have like, it's like a Pokemon situation, and I'm not even like exaggerating. You have like, everyone has a mother, the dads are just all not there. And then like after generation 2, where like you have like boys and girls, it just starts happening that they intermingle and just have like kids after like a few years, right? The orcs believed Kitsune to be a nomadic people, where the women settled with their children while the men traveled between the villages. I have a very, 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 very societal important question there. They sent a lot of undesirables, like the people who could not integrate into like the proper roles. They sent them there, right? Because otherwise we would have the situation where the kitsune, the mothers, would go into labor, the children were born, and then for the next, if we are not going a very, very, very dark route that I do not want to go in, because it's a little bit too much fucked up, to be honest, they would need to wait until the kids are of birthing age, right? Like, like where the girls are old enough to bear children and the boys are old enough to become fathers. Like that's like the thing. So they would just send like small amounts of people there, right, to like keep the population up. Oh, 1 second. Need to go AFK for like 2 seconds. Okay. I'm back. Where were we? Okay, to make it less dark. The first wave was comprised of guards and soldiers to voluntold is a beautiful word. To establish this decoy village. From then on, the Kitsune only intermittently have go drum up a bunch of undesirables to bolster the outside population of the orcs go on the slave hunt. Okay, alongside some gods. Families, as well as some who would be sent there as punishment. And then we can keep everything as is, right? Okay, now we go into the big one, the Heritage War. So we have three big events: Heritage War and the Flood, War of Unity. Back to back to back. Well, there's like isn't there like 1,000 years between those? I always need to open up the timeline, so I'm not fucking this up. For me, like, timeline is one of the things that I need to like learn by heart. But yeah, there's like well, it's like War of it's like Heritage War is like from it's 500 year long war of like liberation. So start of Heritage War to War of Unity is 800 years roundabout. But yeah. Okay, we can rewrite this. So, Heritage War. Let's make it big. Heritage War. The Kitsune were locally defending their societies and only performed rescue and liberation efforts when it suited them. When they found out that there were places they desired to settle at that were weakened enough to be taken over, they did so quickly and fiercely. Even though the Heritage War claimed many lives, the Kitsune were mostly spared, because I feel like it's good to have like someone who's like not 100% involved in the Heritage War. I think with someone like being just like, oh yeah, we're just sitting here and just sniping like a few locations that are nice, which is also very, very morally wrong, by the way. And just playing it safe for this part of the history is like the wisest thing to do. Yeah, exactly. I think they should get devastated during the Aether Flood. I think that's the thing. They're like so locally like loyal to the like their places where they're like, oh yeah, we have like a lot of Aether here. We can like we thrive in this, and then they get just fucked over. But we get to that very, very soon. We go to Korok. During the years after the Aether Flood, they the thing is, where did Korok live? Did we ever say that? We know he was like the emperor, right? And we said the orcs originated from yeah, I think so as well, right? I don't know why all of a sudden my right click is a left click for this, but sure. So we know that Korok is from Korokna or Terrachokna, right? Like one of those two like continents. Because we said orcs originate from there, and in Terrachokna they found the gnolls. Again, how these look can change still. And we say that the Kitsune lived in the south of the Crownlands, so very southern here. Where did Korok settle after the Heritage War? Because the Heritage War was global, right? The orcs migrated everywhere and just like took everything over. Very badly, but they did. We can say that the Crownlands has like very big, because it said he went to the mountains basically, right? He became like he went somewhere else. So we could say could go to the Crownlands, and there's like a mountainous area somewhere here. Exactly, I think so as well. So we should go to the orcs. Orcs. Longest list ever. We still need to do like a little bit of like formatting so we don't have the text every time. Just so we have this mixed heritage. It should be around, yeah. Korok, there we have him. And then we have, he would go on to preach his disciple history, repeating himself, blah, blah, blah. Korok himself made for the mountains. So we would say that the Crownlands are also where the humans are, right? Because he is like part of the Orang family, and the Orangs were in hiding as well. Within the Crownlands, I think that's the wisest thing. Where the Orang family would live, right? Why? No, music is over. Yeah. I don't know. What do we listen to? Do we listen to? I hope this is good. I hope we don't get like striked for this playlist. Just give me 1 second. Where's my stream? Yeah. Okay, my stream health is excellent. That is good. Anyways. The Kitsune village offer him asylum, and then he did something to offend them, and they were after something in his possession. I imagine those the most likely scenarios. I feel like what he would do, what Korok would do, that would piss the Kitsune off, if it's really petty, is the thing is, it cannot be too petty. We need to balance this a little bit out. As much as I want to have them be like a little bit petty, because we have this line, the Kitsune will use violence to punish transgressions and rarely as a first means to an end, right? I think if they want to kill Korok, they need to do it because he did something very, very stupid and did not know what the consequences actually were, right? What would be such a big transgression that the Kitsune would murder him? That is something I would have loved, that he would like find a mountain giant because he lives in the mountain, and that destroy the holy site, and they that was like 2 strikes at once. Fuck with the giants and destroy a mountainside. I think so, yeah. They took in the late Emperor Korok the 7th of the Orcs, who wanted to reform Orcish society into something the Kitsune would respect again. And then, like, once that happens, right? Their opinion of the Orcs was still very negative at the time. And they did so at the behest of their spiritual leaders, believing in Korok's word. This truce lasted for maybe a decade. Does it last for a decade? That's a good. I think that's long enough for him to like have followers, right? With him, with Korok actually respecting and integrating into Kitsune society with other orcs while relearning their relearning lessons learned millennia ago. Hey, and then we go to like the big Korok slip up, right? On one fateful day. Korok tried to commune with nature and awakened mountain giant, who in turn got furious and destroyed an old prehistoric temple. Which caused the Kitsune great pain. They plotted an assassination against yeah, that is good. While Korok escaped the destruction mostly unscathed due to his mastery of primal magic. And plotted an assassination against the leader of the orcs as punishment for his transgressions and breaking of the truce established 10 years ago. They did so successfully. And now we need to, now we have the problem of like, what do we do with Korok's followers? I think they just scare them off, right? Followers off to prevent further bloodshed. Korok is dead and the followers just piss off. That's what the Kitsune wanted. Kitsune would even would grow even more protective and isolationist than they were during the Heritage War. I think they just like they go absolute panic mode. So, oh my god, we cannot trust anyone. Even the guys who said they were our friends are not our friends anymore. Okay. And then we have the Aether Flood, right? And then we go to the Aether Flood. Bang, and then we have Aether Flood. So now we need to think about if we keep this line here. Do they know what's happening during the Aether Flood? Because I'm like of the opinion that the Aether Flood They should somehow find out. I think what they do over the Heritage War. What they do with the Heritage War, and especially after this, no, there's a consequence to this. Okay, after they grew even more, after this event, the Kitsune specialized in... Oh yeah, see you later. See you later. I'm also only here for like 20 minutes, so everything's fine. I will stream later again, by the way. And doing this a little bit further. After this event, the Kitsune is specialized in scrying magic to not repeat the mistakes of to not repeat the problematic societal shift of the Heritage War. I think that's basically what we keep. That the Kitsune become scrying magicians, just so they have an eye on the outside world without doing these like decoy villages again. Over the years, over the decades, Kitsune rarely expanded beyond their borders. I think they don't expand very much further, except for those who were still wandering around and in between holy sites. They did use their scrying magic to divine and see what the other civilizations on Aziko were doing. Oh. When they when the Kitsune saw what was happening in the Mirror Belt, where they tried to use the hand project to build a nuke Mirror Belt, they were appalled but did not intervene, rather than prepare for the worst. So they were like sitting there and just like building up defenses in the hope that this would help instead of just going there and doing something. They send out envoys to tell others about the consequences of meddling in Aether, but most of these envoys were not taken seriously. I think they like, for like being like these, like, I think it's a bit like Medivh in Warcraft 3. They go there and say, dude, they are trying to blow up the world, and everyone's like, yeah, of course they are. And then we have, once the Aether Flood started, the Kitsune were paying for their isolationist lifestyles. The vast majority of sites they were settling at were the very points at which the Aether Aether would spill out onto the surface, and it would be those who were punished who were the few survivors of the species living outside of their societies. Historians would estimate that the Kitsune were near absolute extinction. Were near extinction. If they did not send out those who were not living to the standards of society, they would have been definitely they would have been entirely extinct. I think that is like the hubris they have, right? They kept to this and they said, oh, you cannot live here when you're not a desirable. And then once they got sent out because they did not vibe with the society, they just like survived this. Basically a blessing the guys. And that is like, this is like going into the like the War of Unity, right? those who were working as who were wandering the planet's surface tried to reform, try to meet at the few sites that were mostly intact. They would try to form a nomadic band of survivors and rebuild their society under new rules to reflect that their conservative mindset was not as perfect as they thought it would be, right? And then we get into the Changeling and the War of Unity. So we're nearly done with the stream for right now, by the way. So we are doing this, the Darkened Age, and the Now, and then we are done with the Kitsune, actually. War of Unity. The Kitsune more or less stumbled into the conflict while trying to actively avoid it. When they encountered one of the few villages of survivors who were attacked by the grotesque forces of the they were like attacked by the grotesque forces of the Changeling, and they took part in the action and helped. One of those people were the so-called humans who freed themselves of the Orong dynasty and were trying to find others, other like-minded survivors. When they did, they joined the war effort as the one thing they were punished to do. Scout. This gave them the reputation of doing efficient and reliable work. And then we say basically like once the war was over and the Darkened Age began, the Kitsune became nomadic once again, trying to retrace all the sites they were previously protecting, while planning to undo the damages of the flood. Over this time period, they built a strong dislike for the elves, who were trying to use this event as who were trying to revive and find the survivors of the would-be rightfully lost. And that's that, right? They just started to dislike the elves. And then we have the Dark Age, we have that. The Dark Age is just very uninteresting for the Kitsune. I think the Dark Age is like the most interesting for the dwarves, the elves, and in theory the humans, because they thrived so much. And now, nowadays, right? We do this. We do this and this, and now the Kitsune are one of the few land-dwelling folk. They are interested in learning the ways of the people living in the metropolises. However, only visit a metropolis if rumors of sacred artifacts reaches their homes on the surface. This we keep. I would do a little addendum. I would also say while they decided to settle down over the past centuries, many envoys, wanderers, and scouts and mystics exist, and instead of being something not to be proud of, it is seen as a great honor and something to be envious of. I think that's like a very, very positive note at the end. That like it switched around from like, oh yeah, you are the scout, lol, you cannot stay with us, to like, yeah, you know what? He's a scout. He's like a very capable man, and he's wise enough to travel the world while we are here tending his home, basically, right? It switched from like, oh, these guys are just getting information to us, to like, yeah, we want to make this place home for the guy who's like going around, right? I should add that at the end. Societal switch from people outside the villages are scouts and shunned to be to people outside of our villages are capable and strong. We need to keep this home safe until they return. I think this mentality is like very, very good that they switch to that. It makes also very, very much sense why they chill at home and why that you as the Kitsune player would go to Metropolis probably. But yeah, that's Kitsune, right? We did it. Kitsune done. I like them way more now than last time. And tonight, when I'm back, we are going to... actually, we are reevaluating these 5. And we are reevaluating a few heritages. Because now we have a little bit more idea of the setting itself. What we want. And I think 1 or 2 came back from like the no pile. But yeah. We have done a lot. So yeah, I will stop the stream now because I need to go. I will be back after I watched my brother play football. So we will be back later. See you around. Thank you for watching and see you later, alligators. Bye bye.